Okay, so in this video I'm going to show you how to break down and answer this question. This is a password question. It wants you to develop an algorithm where the user has to enter the password and then has to enter it again. So let's break it down into input, process and output. So here's our input bit, obviously, get the user to enter the password and then re-enter it. What happens next is it asks you repeat the 2 bullet points above until both entered passwords are identical. Well, that's our process bit, but this is a case of where you need to read the question carefully, because actually, although the 2 bullet points start first, actually they're inside this processing loop. So you've got to handle that a little bit. And finally, we've got our output, which is simply output password created. Nice easy mark to collect. So there's our algorithm. Okay, and what we're going to do now is start to develop the algorithm a little bit. We're going to start with the actual processing, start with wrapping those inputs into a validation loop. The greater than and bigger than signs together, they mean different from. So while password is different from password check, keep going around this loop. And inside that loop, there's just two very simple things going on. First of all, we're asking the user for the first password, and then we're asking them for that password again. And here I've actually put inputs, and I haven't really done anything about. So here we've got prompting the user for the password itself, the initial password. We're then going to read that in from the keyboard. And we do exactly the same thing to get the password in again, so to re-enter the password. And I'll put some print commands in here just to make it clearer. You're much more likely just to get marks here for the inputs rather than the prints. And finally, our final mark here is for outputting password created. Now, if you get stuck on doing the loop here, again, you can just do your inputs and your output, and that would actually get you some way and some points. This question was worth 5 marks, and it's important that you try and pick up as many as possible, as quickly as possible. I'm just highlighting there the difference, so greater than, less than. Okay, let's see if we can put this together and program it into a while loop. So I'm initializing the data here, the variables here, they're characters. They have to be different, and the reason they have to be different is because if they weren't, what would happen is that the algorithm would stop at the beginning. So what's important here is that these two have to be different if you're going to initialize them. And let's deal with the process and the output bit. So this is a while loop. And instead of using greater than, less than signs, I'm going to use exclamation mark equals. Now, exclamation mark equals in Python means is different from. So while password is different from password check, again, put a colon in. That's because we haven't got an end while in Python. And we can wrap 2 lines into one here. So password equals input, enter password. Same thing with password check. Once again, no end while. A bit of a reminder there about the exclamation mark equals being not the same as, or meaning not the same as. And finally, here's our final output statement. And that's our program and our algorithm created. So all we've got to do now is test it. So let's try it with some invalid inputs. So here's one password. Here's a different version of that password, and it asks you for it again. Let's see if it works if I give it the same thing. And that works perfectly. So that's our algorithm created and our program developed from that algorithm. Okay, and here's our highlighted question and completed algorithm for you to look at. Pause if you need to. And here's our completed algorithm and Python code for you to look at. And I've put a little bit of a warning at the bottom again